Hey y'all. Yes, I'm still alive. Barely, but I'm still alive. I am so glad to be back with y'all. It has been a crazy ride these last 8 months, and I first and foremost want to humbly apologize to you for not keeping you updated, whether through a video, which I had absolutely no time to make, or through the Facebook page or anything. I am so sorry. It has been crazy. And it just got crazier in the last couple weeks. So I'm going to give you a little update, and then we'll share what's going to be going on here soon. So as you all know, I had quit doing the videos because I was working. And I was working from 6 o'clock in the morning till 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, having to get up at 4:15 in the morning because I had a 45-minute drive and, all that fun stuff. I was serving at a assisted living facility in the dining room, and so I was walking 10 miles a day and all that fun stuff, even though you can't tell because I'm still really overweight. But anyways, so it was very, very tough getting up that early. That is not my cup of tea in any way, shape, or form. And then just working nonstop throughout the whole time. I mean, there was just the only time I had was when I took my lunch, and I would spend my half an hour lunch period talking to the kids. So it was an insane deal. I love my job. I love the residents. In fact, I just went back yesterday to go and visit them, which is kind of getting ahead of myself. So it was insane, coming home and, half the time having to stop and go grocery shopping or stop and get this little thing or that little thing, so I was always coming home later than I wanted. And then, being dead on my feet from walking so much and moving so much and picking up so much and just everything. And then, trying to spend an hour or two with the kids and then getting them all ready to go to bed, and doing it all over again the next day. So, it was very difficult. God provided abundantly, and I'm so grateful for him. But twofold deal here. About I don't know. I'd have to say about 4 months ago, my son told me that during one of our church services, we watch online, Global Vision Bible Church. If you guys didn't go, I'm going to do a plug here. If you guys didn't go and see Come Out in Jesus' Name, you can find it and rent it on all the different platforms. You need to watch that documentary. It is awesome. It is full on where I am in belief of, and you got to check out Global Vision Bible Church with Pastor Greg Locke. God is just moving mightily through him and in that church and in many others, and it's just amazing. So there's a plug. Go watch that movie. And he's got a new book coming out too, so you might want to check that out too. Anyways, so my son told me, who is 18 years old and who has had one short 3-week stint of a first job a couple years ago. He told me that he wanted to get a job so that I could come home. And I was like, okay. And he was like, the Lord just totally convicted me on it. And I knew what pastor had said, because it brought up my ex-husband, the kids' father, who owes me still a crudload of child support. And so I was like, oh, okay. So we kind of hemmed and hawed about that, and I was fighting him on that because it's truly not his responsibility. But God had other plans. So I told him he could get a job, but it had to be... I mean, how you get a job one day a week is just pretty much impossible these days. Because that was, I had Sundays and Mondays off. And so I was like, the only day you can work is Mondays. So we'll see what God has planned. Well, God had it all planned out as usual. And so he got a job with a company that's here in South Carolina, that its main base is here on our street. And we live on a little horseshoe, so we're out in the country. And so He walked down there, filled out an application, went back and forth texting because he was taking care of the kids all day while I was at work. And so they ended up giving him the job on Mondays. And so that was a blessing for him. And I was very grateful. And he kept telling me, Mom, I want to get a full-time job so you can stay home. You need to stay home with the girls. You need to be home. They need you. They need you more than they need me. I'm not their parent, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's not your job. It's not your responsibility. Because if you do that, you have to pay all the bills, Matthew. And I don't feel comfortable with that. And, pride. And so he kind of, he'd hem and haw every once in a while, but we'd go a while without talking about it. Well, all of a sudden he came home on a Monday afternoon or Monday evening, and he was like, Mama, they're hiring full-time for laborers. And I was like, and I literally, this was a few weeks ago, and I started crying. And it was very hard for me to explain to him all the craziness that was going on in my head and my heart regarding this. And I got it mostly across to him. And he just looked at me. He's like, Mama, I know how you're feeling. I know you. I know how you're feeling. But it doesn't matter because this is something that God is telling me to do. And I have to do it. And I want to do it. And I was like, all right, well, if this is truly what you want to do, then you have to apply for the job and see. And so he did. And long story short, he got the job. So I decided, talking to him, I decided I was going to stop working altogether except for Sundays because I still wanted to make a little bit of money to help, obviously. And that was for sure and for certain a day he wouldn't be working. And so he was fine with that. The 29th of July was supposed to be my last full-time day. And then I'd have that Sunday of that weekend off, the 1st or 31st or whatever it was. And then I'd start the following week. Well, the day before that, I get a phone call from my son during work. I wasn't feeling good at the time, and that's important to the story. And so I was actually, my supervisor, my dining room supervisor, and a couple other people were on vacation. And so I was really needed, but I wasn't really needed, except for my main breakfast shift. And I really wasn't feeling good. It was taking everything that I had to drag myself there every morning. But I did. And so my plan, again, for like the third day in a row was once someone came in, there was always a couple people coming in at 11 o'clock to do the lunch shift and everything, I was going to leave again. About 10:30, I get a phone call from my son, and my son knows not to call me unless it's an extreme emergency. And so I get a phone call, so my heart starts pounding, and I go running outside where I can get better service, and lo and behold, he says, and I quote, Mama, nice and calmly, Mama, don't panic, but the paramedics are here and Abby has had a seizure. What? Abby has never had a seizure before that we knew about. And so I am an absolute basket case, 45 minutes away and just freaking out. And come to find out later on, my son, after he called the dispatcher realized that she was not breathing enough. And so he had to do chest compressions on my daughter. And so he went through heck in a handbasket that morning. And she had showed no signs of acting weird, doing anything, not feeling well, anything. He said that she was absolutely normal. But praise God that I had been sick, which I was frustrated that I had been sick, but see, God knows everything, and when we figure out all the puzzle pieces, it's like, ooh, gotcha. So because I had been sick, my son usually hung out in my bedroom to be closer to Abby, because it's right on the other side of the wall, but so he could do his own thing without him disturbing her and her disturbing him. And so because I'd been sick, I told him, I said, I don't want you in my room, I don't want you to get sick. And so, he was out in the living room with her, and so he was able to see it immediately, know what it was immediately, and to call the paramedics immediately, which was a good thing because it could have been 5-7 minutes before he actually checked on her again. So God is good and faithful and sees all beforehand and lays out the path for us. So, anyways, long story short, and this is my 12-year-old daughter who has cerebral palsy and is on the G tube and everything. She was ending up having seizures. She had a seizure on the way to the first hospital. She had a seizure during her CT scan. They transferred her to MUSC in Charleston. And that was by my request, but they would have done it anyways. And then they put her on the EEG, and she had a couple seizures the next day, which they were able to see, and so they ended up taking off all the mechanics and stuff. But so unfortunately, she is on seizure medicine now, and come to find out, doing some research, she's probably been having seizures for several years now. They're called absentee seizures, where she pretty much just zones out for like a minute or so, multiple times a day. And I had no idea, and so we just said, "Oh, she's zoning out again. She'll come back in a minute." I mean, you could not get her attention during those times in any way, shape, or form. You could sit there and do this, you could poke her, you could do everything, and she would not pay attention to you at all because she was having a seizure. So she ended up throwing up on the way to the first hospital, and so, after a myriad of tests and trying to figure out what was wrong with her, we just boiled it down to she had a really nasty stomach virus, fever, couldn't hold anything down, all that fun stuff. And that's what brought on, because she was working her way up to that point, that's what brought on the major seizure, which, again, because she had CP, I had that locked tight in a steel safe in the back of my brain, knowing that it could possibly happen someday, but full on ignoring it, not even paying attention to it, because it wasn't going to happen. No, I had enough on my plate and it wasn't going to happen. Well, God had other plans, so I'm on a new journey because I physically have not seen her have a seizure, so I don't even know what it looks like for her other than her zoning out periods, because even the ones that I was there for when she was throwing up, because she had one just before she threw up, and she had one while she was throwing up within a 1 minute span, and there were two different kinds, and you couldn't see anything. The first one is you can't tell, it's all in the brain. The second one, she was busy throwing up, so we couldn't tell anything. So I have no idea what to look for. My son explained to me what she did, so I know to look for that if it's a bigger one. So we spent 4 nights and 5 days in the hospital, and that was very long, and my other kids did great. Matthew and Becca did great at home by themselves, and Becca did awesome. She's the one with the undiagnosed autism and stuff, and she missed me a lot, and I missed them. And mamas out there, if you have to be one place but you need to be another place, you feel torn in two, and it was awful, but I had to be where I had to be. So they did great, and of course they were very happy that Abby was okay, and because they dosed her up with so much Keppra when after she had the seizure in the CT scan, that, and on top of the fact that she just was not feeling well, wasn't eating, so whatever, that child was pretty much asleep from Friday afternoon until Monday afternoon. She'd kind of open her eyes when she had to throw up, but, you could see that she actually wasn't there. It was just the reaction to having to throw up, but she wasn't there. And so that was very scary for me, because she's never done that before. And it was funny, because Monday afternoon I'm sitting there and I'm looking at something on my phone in the room, and I happen to look up at her, and she's sitting up in bed, and it's like, oh, well, hello. You're awake now, praise God. So that was very long and intense and crazy and scary, and I don't want to have to go through that again. But so after I got home and after the dust kind of settled, my son started his full-time job a couple days late. Obviously, they were very nice about it, and so we discussed it a couple days later, and he was adamant. He's like, Mama, you cannot even work on Sundays. I do not want you to work at all. Abby needs you. Becca needs you. We need you here. You cannot. You cannot. And I was like, okay, well, I'm at this point in agreement with that, because I don't want you to have to go through that again. I don't want to go through it, but I don't want you to have to go through it. And so I am no longer working, and my son is working his tail end off in the massive heat that we have here in South Carolina, and outside. He's working outside, and he's going to pay the majority of the bills. And I am just, when we had that last conversation and I agreed to it, the peace of God was just amazing. And then he made it not only peace, but absolute excitement to be able to come home, and the reality of what that would look like and everything. And because it's been so long, it's been almost a year that yeah, I do my normal stuff around here for the most part, but being home 24/7 is a whole different story, and I forgot what that looked like for the most part. So I got really excited. So I knew that was Jesus, because before, when we talked about it, it was like, no. And I just have this anxiety and this wall up going, no, this is not your job. This is my job to provide. I'm the parent. And so, it's been a blessing. He absolutely adores his job. He's the total opposite of me, because the employees that I worked with drove me absolutely bananas. And so I was miserable every time I came home, and he comes home happy and joy-filled, and there's no drama there for the most part. So God bless him. That's awesome. So that is what is going on in a nutshell in Linda's life. And so after 8 months, I have finally picked up this book. And I have to be honest with you, my walk with the Lord really went downhill. Being in that place, I can tell you, there was a lot of demons in that place, and I had to deal with them on a constant basis, from my supervisor down into the residents and everything. And it was very difficult, and I allowed myself to get sucked into worldly things, going back to cussing and gossiping and all that stuff, and I really hated myself for it. And I just, it was like I'd beg God to go before me and beside me, and to just behind me, and to just lead the way and keep my mouth shut and blah, blah, blah. And I'd do good for the first few hours, and then it would just go downhill. And it was probably because I was so busy, I would forget to actually talk to Jesus and stuff, because there was just blinders on of, I got to get the residents their food. I got to do this. I got to do that. So there was no thinking other than that. So I've really been a mess the last few months, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. We all have our ups and downs with our relationship with God, which shouldn't happen, but it does. So I really need this book. I really need to learn how to pray. I really need to war in the Spirit. I really need to learn how to fight in the Spirit. I need to learn to be a watchman on a tower. I need to learn a lot of stuff, or relearn a lot of stuff, and discipline myself. Discipline is the major thing, and that's the major thing I'm failing in my life. Getting back into this, because this was hardly touched, because I was so tired. So that would be my excuse to not pick it up at all. I mean, I did here and there, but it was not consistent. And I have to be honest, even since I've been home for 2 weeks, it still has not been full on consistent, because I let the busyness get in the way. I've been slamming. I've probably spent the first 5 full 12-hour days of being home, setting up and getting ready for Becca for homeschooling, and just, getting stuff back in order, because, when you're not home all the time, things just get icky. Not the way I like them. So, I've just spent a lot of time doing that. And did I put God first? No, I put that first. So I am working on getting back on track, as I'm sure a lot of you have gone through, or possibly could be going through right now. So I have been doing Bible study, and I'm kind of like relearning who Jesus is and who I am in him and that kind of stuff, because it's just kind of fallen to the wayside. And so, I've done church every week. I get convicted every week, all this stuff. And so it's way past time for me to get on the ball and get on the path that Jesus has me on. So this is where we're going next. And as I told you a gazillion years ago, it feels like, I'm going to, and honestly, I've only read the first, if you could call it, chapter. It is deep. I'm warning you right now, it is deep. But as I've been reading through it, all of a sudden, God was just like, do this, because I didn't know how I was going to run this. And so, I took a notebook down and I started writing questions out that I needed to answer, but that I knew that y'all would like to answer too. And so I started writing questions out regarding, paragraphs and stuff like that. I've done some fill-it-ins, I've done, whatever. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that into a Word document. And when I post the video, I'll put it in the comments, or in the description, or both, whatever. I don't know. I gotta ask my son how to do that, because it's been a long time. I'm curious to see if I remember even how to upload this video, because it's been so long since I've done this with y'all. So see, I'll even prove it to you that I've actually been doing I've been doing it. See, I've only gotten through the first 9 pages, but I am doing it. Praise the Lord, I am doing it. And man, when I first started working, I brought it with me, and I read, trying to see here, I read the first, I probably read the first 2 pages. And I was like, oh dang, this is deep. I need to bring a notebook. Well, after that, there was just no time for me to do it. And so it was like, okay, so I carried around in my car for about 4 months, and then I finally brought it in the house and put it off to the side, and that's where it's at. So I'll even show you that and I actually have several pages worth of questions and filled-ins and such like that. So it'll be good. This one 9-page section of the book, I got 20 things out of it, so I'll keep y'all busy. But it's good. I'm really gonna like this book. My pastor's wife, as a matter of fact, her name is Ty, and she was doing this in her they call it the secret place for women on Tuesday nights. I think it's Tuesday nights. But unfortunately, they didn't have all the videos for it online, because I was going to go. I actually watched a couple of them on my way back and forth to work. I did a lot of stuff online. I listened to a lot of Isaiah Saldivar and my church when, on Wednesday nights and stuff when I was sleeping. But this is going to be really good, and I think this is really going to change our prayer lives. I know it's going to change our prayer lives if we submit to it and do what it says, because my pastor's wife, Miss Ty, she is an amazing prayer warrior. And in fact, she told us last Sunday that she hasn't been praying, because she usually prays after pastor gets done preaching, and she hasn't been praying the last few weeks. And she said the reason why is because she thinks that she's being a stumbling block for people who need to pray on their own, because everybody doesn't want to pray, because they want to hear her praying, because it's so amazing and so spirit-filled and so word-filled and everything else, because she learned from here. And so she actually quit doing it for several weeks, because she didn't want to block everybody, and her main thing was, y'all need to learn how to pray. And so, that was, all right, Lord, you're telling me that I need to get back to this study, or get to this study and get doing it. Because we need to pray. We have a battle coming up that we're going to be here for, and with the Antichrist and stuff, and we need to know how to pray. And not only that, but just our daily lives and everything else and whatever, but we need to learn how to pray. We need to fight the demons that are attacking us. We need to fight the demons that are in us. We need to fight. And the major way that we fight is with the sword of the Spirit and in prayer. And so we need to learn how to specifically pray. And the thing that I know that she does is that I believe is that she's going to we're going to learn the word and memorize it more so we can use the word in prayer as our sword of the spirit. So I'm not giving you a date because I don't know. School starts on Monday, and I want to get several chapters done and posted so I can have a few weeks. And so I've only got one chapter done. I obviously haven't made a video because this is the first video I've made since I said see you later to y'all. So I need to work on this. In fact, as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm going to work on part of the next chapter. But I am looking forward to this. And so I hope if you guys do not own this book, that you will run out and buy it so you can be prepared. It's from Priscilla Shirer. I'm sure y'all have heard of it. It's a very popular book. And I will get us going hopefully within the next few weeks. Okay. That is my goal. You know, next week's going to be really focused on getting into the vibe of school and into the routine of that. And I'm still trying to figure out just my daily routine here because it's just weird to be home. It's a blessing to be home. I'm loving being home. Becca is so absolutely off the charts thrilled that I am home. But it's hard, you know, when I went to work yesterday, I had to drop off my uniforms and stuff, and because I am who I am, even though I'm in flip-flops and you know, I'm not being paid, I still went to work and did, you know, because at this point that poor place only has 2 employees for the dining room right now, because pretty much everybody left all at the same time for different reasons, school, different job, me, you know, everything. And so there's only 2 employees literally for the dining room. And the dining room is open from 7 to 7. And so, yeah, it's just insane. And so, you know, I was helping my supervisor. I literally cleared off all the tables of all the dirty dishes that he hadn't gotten to yet, which were pretty much on every table. and, you know, I just helped him, and that's who I am. You know, that's what I do. And so, you know, and that's what I'm used to. And so, yeah, I visited and everything, and it was great to see the residents and my boss and everything, but that's just who I am. I can't stand there. And he kept yelling at me, "Stop it, Linda." I was like, I can't. Sorry. You should know me better than this by now. And he was grateful. He was very grateful because that man is exhausted. But anyways, so I want to get into routine and stuff. But if things go hopefully smoothly and stuff, I will, you know, I'm definitely going to get into this every day and start working. But hopefully I'll have time to make the videos and stuff. If not, you know, hopefully next week or so, I will get the videos going and we will get them uploaded. So I wanted to give you this, and I did not mean to talk for 28 minutes. Holy cow. I'm sorry. I guess I had a lot to say. So quickly, run out and get this because we are going to be getting started, and the questions will be coming from me because there is no questions. There is no, and I'm a teacher. Holy cow. There are no questions in this book. But I am making them, and we're going to have lots of fun, and we're going to learn lots, and we're all going to learn to pray strategically and biblically and with the sword of the Spirit, and we're going to become mighty prayer warriors for Jesus and for our families and for ourselves and against the devil and everything, because we're going to continue to put our armor on, and we're going to fight hell by the acre. Alrighty, ladies. Well, I'm going to let you go before I even make it to 30 minutes. But I promise these will be coming out soon. So run out and get your book and get prepared because we're about to get started. I miss y'all, and I'm praying for y'all. God bless.